Hello, ladies and gentlemen of my Life Science 7A. Mr. Hescock's back. We are going to finish up Chapter 5 today. Yesterday, the questions were all about the different kingdoms, and we had 5, and then we actually said we switched it to 6. So, what are the kingdoms that have a nucleus? The kingdoms that have a nucleus: fungus, protists, plants, and animals. Fungi, protista, plantae, and animalidae. So there's one group that's not exactly in that, and it seems really appropriate with us dealing with the whole pandemic and COVID and all that other stuff, is viruses. So viruses are what we're going to talk about today. A virus is basically something that's not living because it doesn't have cells and it cannot reproduce by itself. But honestly, viruses are the world's first terrorists. They take over your cells, they force your cells to do what they want, and then they kill them. I mean, that's literally what a virus does. It's some proteins and either some DNA or some RNA that can literally force your cells to do what it wants. The outer surface of a virus is called the capsid, and inside you'll find DNA. Now, this is where we first learned about viruses. This is called a bacteriophage. What's interesting is bacteriophage only affect bacteria. So as scientists were investigating these bacteriophages, they didn't really care because you were just killing bacteria. But we learned a lot about how viruses can make us sick by studying the bacteriophage. So virus reproduction is how they make you sick. So for this to happen, the virus attaches to your cells. We call that attachment. It'll insert its DNA with these little needles in the bottom of it into your cell, and then that DNA works just like your DNA. So the host cell doesn't understand that that virus DNA is not supposed to be there, and that virus DNA can actually insert itself into the host DNA. The host will read that viral DNA and start to make virus parts. Eventually, those virus parts are assembled, and those virus parts will keep making more and more and more and more and more viruses inside the cell until it explodes, and we call this lysis. So I drew this out for you and I put it into the video. Make sure you make yourself sketches of these 6 steps. I call these my stages of viral reproduction. So here, there's my bacteriophage attaching to the E. coli. And this is the E. coli's DNA. Now, bacteria have circular DNA. They don't have the same type of chromosomes that we do. So we call that attachment. The second phase, this is the virus injecting its piece of DNA that was in the capsid now into the cell. So that's the DNA injection. Here, the virus is still attached, but the DNA is moving from out in the cytoplasm to being a part of the bacterial DNA. We call that incorporation, to include. Eventually, the virus parts are going to be made. There you go, production of viral parts. That's the 4th step. Step 6, those virus parts are assembled. We call that assembly. And step 7 is when there's so many viruses inside the cell that it erupts. And we call this lysis, meaning to burst open. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to the end of this section on viruses. Make sure you're getting your reading done because it's very important. And come test time, you may want to make sure you understand how those viruses reproduce. And it's important because we're in a world where everything is virus this and virus this right now. Your questions are on 129. They're the review questions there. And until next time, you guys be good, be safe. I'm Mr. Hescox. Take it easy.